This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Jack Threads. It's time to play the music, light the lights, and meet the Muppets in their new movie, The Muppets.
Totally Rad Show.
Today in movies, we're talking about The Muppets. This is... Yeah, this is a long time coming. It's from Nick Stoller and Jason Segel, who've collaborated many times over. Jason Segel also stars in the movie as the brother to Walter, who is a Muppet, but is not a Muppet. And
He's
they
a
grew
puppet,
up,
not a Muppet.
and these are people that grew up watching The Muppets on TV. Mm-hmm. It's set in the same kind of fiction as a reboot does, like the Superman movie or Star Trek sort of. What was the other one that's like the first one? Tron. So like the first one, the other movies or whatever, they exist. They happened. That wasn't a fake movie, and this is a restart. All the Muppet television shows and movies, they happened in this world, but they were real. And they are two brothers who are going to go to LA and try and seek down the Muppets, and they're all.
But not only
the band is broken up, and they have to get the band together to put on one show to save the Muppet Theater.
Not only did those movies happen in this universe, they were movies.
Yeah.
Right.
They happened as movies.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
But
the
they-
Muppet movie, the plot of the Muppet movie
Right.
isn't canon.
Yeah.
The idea that they made a Muppet movie is canon.
Right. And the Muppets are actors in that actual movie.
Yes.
Right. Amy Adams is Jason Segel's love interest, who they're supposed to be spending their anniversary together, but Muppet stuff intersects.
Tension and hilarity. Oh, intersects.
Yes.
I thought you said enter sex.
Muppets, no sir.
Nah, not the Muppets.
So we all grew up on the Muppets. I will say I grew up, I think out of the three of us, I'm the least, I
the
just was the
Muppet
least
Show-
infatuated with the Muppets as a child.
Yeah. Well, what the Muppet Show wasn't probably on when you were a kid.
Well, they had the reboot of it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You and
right.
Muppet Babies.
But I loved Muppet Babies. That's the thing, is like
Let's
the
get
Muppets.
serious for a
the
second.
Muppets weren't Muppet Babies. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
that's true. Those
It
were
was
the babies
different.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the
different
Muppet
tone.
Show was very much a part of my childhood. I
Yeah.
mean, very much a part of my childhood.
And so how did this movie? I mean,
you know how this. You
Yeah.
sat next to me.
Well, it doesn't even have to do that. I mean, it's like anyone who has that level of affection for the Muppets.
Well,
it
I will
goes
say-
around a review, even if you don't like
Yeah.
the movie, whatever. But that's gonna be tough because this is a movie that pays such reverence.
It's what the movie is about is
Yeah.
that nostalgia.
Right.
The
Right.
plot is nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not just nostalgic.
Yeah.
It is about the idea of nostalgia, of
Right.
getting the band back together. And there is a moment in this movie where they start up the Muppet Show, but they do it in widescreen on the big screen, but it's shot for shot exactly how the Muppet Show started. And I was 6. I was 6 again. Like, it was a magical moment. It was a magical moment. And that alone makes me want to recommend this movie. But I'm also happy to say that I can recommend it for a variety of other reasons, including the fact that it's a smart, clever premise that delivers on the promise of all. You know, the Muppets have always lived in this meta universe. You know, take the fork in the road, and they arrive, and there's a giant fork in the road. You know, those kinds of jokes are the bread and butter of the Muppets, and this movie lives by them. There's so many moments. It's meta through and through. There's moments where the actors comment on the fact that they are in a movie right now, and I love that stuff. I mean, it's puns, it's gags. It's the kind of humor that
It's a musical.
It's a musical, and the music's funny too. But it's the kind of humor that you don't see even in kids' movies anymore. Everything is ironic nowadays, or and that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's lots of great humor in Pixar films, in DreamWorks animated films. There's lots of great humor for kids, but none of it is this flavor anymore. And what the movie is about is the fact that we don't have anything this flavor anymore. You know, it's so in on its own. I mean, there's literally a line in the film where, you know, we live in a cynical world now, and that's what this film is about. And it's okay to have all those ideas, but sometimes you can get lost in those ideas. And this movie doesn't, I don't think, ever get lost in those ideas. It has heart. It has an earnestness that I found very refreshing. And it's genuinely fun and funny. It's entertaining. I was thoroughly entertained from start to finish and had a great time. Came out humming the songs and just feeling that wonderful sense of nostalgia. Is it going to be great for kids nowadays? I don't know. I'm not able to speak to that. I know that somebody that has an inherent love of the Muppets, loved this movie.
So,
Interesting.
Alex, we had a discussion before the movies.
Yeah.
So I was clued into your sentiment walking into the theater, which I think many people might have, which is you were like, I haven't really liked the Muppet movie since like the Muppet Christmas one or whatever.
No,
Or
I think
before that.
they haven't really made one since Muppet Christmas Carol, I don't think, or at least
Oh, they
one
made tons. They made tons.
Really?
Treasure Island, But this.
Oh
that's the,
yeah.
that's the point.
Oh yeah, Gonzo
Is that-
goes to space.
Right,
Space Gonzo.
Space was the last one.
Muppets in Space was the last one. Yeah.
I think
And they're okay, yeah,
And what
yeah,
I was
yeah.
saying is like this is not one of those movies. This
Yeah.
isn't like another Muppets whatever movie. This is like a whole new thing.
Yeah.
This has got it's a movie. It's not an auteur.
So
movie.
It feels more like a backdoor pilot for a television series.
Well, and this is the
reboot.
one thing that I'll say, which is I walked out of there, and the thing that I was most excited about was the prospects of them just bringing the Muppet Show back.
Yeah. Please.
And by the end, where they sort of do the end telethon and Jack Black's on it, and they have all these other special guests, and they're really just doing what they do, which is it's sort of Saturday Night Live, but with puppets and these fun guests. Muppets. Well, puppets that happen to be called Muppets. So here's the thing. This is the thing I'm going to say about this movie, which is it has a lot of good stuff going on, and it has some really bad stuff going on. Some stuff that I really actively disliked. I think I liked that they were sort of nodding to the self-aware stuff, and a couple of those jokes really landed for me, but the music was bad. All of the songs were not memorable, in my opinion. They were just sort of there. 2, all of them were performed directly to camera. None of them came from a place of the feeling of the scenes as it's going, where like, and I started thinking about this because I was like, well, okay, that's the second song now, and it's really not good, and it's all sort of like wink, wink, there's a dance number. All of them were that. And I was like, okay, and then I was thinking, well, Muppet movie, moving right along. Was that a 2-camera dance number? No, it nodded to the camera at times because that's the great Muppet humor, but really it was, here's the song at which we are now going along in the car, you know what I mean? And it was really, really pointed out when, at the end of this movie, they sing Rainbow Connection. And as soon as that song started, I was like, that just goes to show you how crappy all the other songs in this movie are. None of those songs, and that's just one. Moving right along, Rainbow Connection, like that's from the first movie. All genius songs that I would be singing right now. They really plugged on the Mana stuff at the end, which is really funny to me because that was a one sketch thing that just happened to kind of take off on the internet. That's not really the Muppets, you know what I mean? Like that was one thing that Dom DeLuise did on this one little side thing, which was great. But just because it became this internet meme, then it became this thing that they had to put in the end of the movie. And I sort of liked it, but as the movie got on, I started to fall into what the movie was about. But at the beginning of this movie, I was like, oh God, I don't like any of the stuff that's happening. The sort of like too cheesy, over the top, you know, all the sort of Jason Segel stuff. Like I didn't buy that character. It was such a weird tone to take that it almost was sort of like we're doing the childish, cheesy Muppet stuff that I don't remember it being that way. I mean, I don't remember it being like everybody's in on the fact that it's puppets and this is funny, where really it was like there's honest moments between what happens to be a puppet frog and on the Muppet shows and in some of the Muppet movies that are really genuine scenes between other actors.
But there's
and they
plenty
nod
of that in
too.
this movie. I mean,
there's not plenty. There's some, but not plenty by any stretch, in my opinion. All the Jason Segel stuff was like, that character was from, I mean, and the Amy Adams stuff, like her singing by herself in the lunch thing, to us, to the audience, that's not. I was like, this is bad musical theater. Like what? This is not Rainbow Connection. This is not moving right along. This isn't even some of the fun stuff from the other movies. So there was a lot of stuff that I was really disappointed by. And that said, I think the thing that I was so excited about was when they got to the end, when they started wrapping it up, when they started doing the telethon, that's when I really kicked into this sort of nostalgia of like watching the opening to the Muppet Show on a movie screen. I was like, I want to see the Muppet Show tomorrow. That is on my
Please
TiVo.
make that.
Please make that show. And there's some really fun, like you said, sort of, social satire, you know what I mean? Like the Teacher Punch television series. Like that stuff is genuinely funny. But for me, there was just too many nods to the camera, and especially with the music stuff, I thought all the music stuff was bad, except for when they did the Rainbow Connection. And so inevitably, I would say it's a fun movie. If you're a Muppet fan, it's a must-see, no-brainer.
It's a Mupsy.
It's a Mupsy. If you're not a Muppet fan, and there are people who won't.
What about you,
There are
Dan?
people who won't like this movie. And I'm sad that Frank Oz didn't play any of the voices he usually plays.
Well, that is an interesting point. Is that one of the things I felt was like everybody's voice is just wrong, just like a half step wrong.
Yep.
The other thing I didn't say up front, it's interesting that you felt that way about the musical numbers because it's directed by James Bobin, who did the show I didn't love that you guys loved, Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That has the same kind of musical
Because one of the things I was
numbers.
going to say was it was fairly
But-
stalely shot. It was
The
a
Muppet-
lot of the musical numbers were just sort of like on a crane staring at people, and it was sort
The
of like
Muppet
I actually
Man
enjoyed how the
song?
musical numbers were shot.
That
Yeah.
Muppet Man song could have been a Flight of the Conchords
Yeah,
song.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
The parsing
Am
of
I
it.
a man
Yeah.
or a
Muppet Man, am I a
Yeah.
Muppet Man? It's very similar.
That was my
Am I a man or
favorite.
am I a
That was
Muppet?
my
And that's
favorite
not
of
to the
the
camera.
things. No, I know, and that's why I
Well,
think it
most
was for
musical numbers
Avengers.
do address the camera, though. So, but I wonder. I got bit by the same bug, but in a different way. I really I had a real problem with Jason Segel's performance in the beginning of the movie. It was specifically in that musical number. I loved the first song. I didn't really like any other songs. Muppet Man, Am I a Man or Am I a Muppet is funny, but I didn't love the
And great
song.
cameo, by the way.
First,
It's like perfect.
yeah, the first song I really enjoyed, and I was so excited for the movie. But Jason Segel's performance inside that number and the whole first 2/3 of the movie, he acted like when you're embarrassed, when you have to do karaoke and you're embarrassed to
funny.
sing in front of people,
Yeah.
so you have to act like what you're doing is really silly and funny. That's what his performance was like. He was like, when he was doing that opening number, everything was, isn't this ridiculous how I'm dancing right now? Like oversold. And
a
whereas
perfect way
everyone
to
else
put
in the
it, yeah.
movie was like Amy Adams can do that very well. She's very sincerely optimistic and ho hum. And Jason Segel felt like he was playing the joke the entire time. Never got the sincerity of the moment. The Muppet, Walt, like you, I felt for that
Walter,
guy
yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
And that's a hand in a puppet. And
Wait, what?
And now Jason Segel at the end of the movie was playing.
saw him at Spago.
It didn't seem like it was a uniform. Didn't seem like it was a problem with his acting. It seemed like it was a choice that was
Yeah.
made that I had a real bugaboo with.
I thought that what we were going to
totally
get
agree with
is we're in Pleasantville, and then we're
Right.
gonna go to Hollywood, and it's gonna be harsh, and we're not gonna understand.
Right, he
yeah.
acted like
Yeah.
Pleasantville
Yeah.
characters before the SSDF. Aside from that, it's a really awesome movie. You know, I don't love the Muppets, so it didn't hit all of my chords the way it would anyone else who grew up Muppets. But I thought it was really well done, and I love the notion of this is how you like taking everything for canon. You know,
It's a brilliant
That's-
concept.
The idea is really great.
I had a thought I wanted to bring up to you guys that, aside from how the voices were just kind of off, it was a little jarring, the little kid in me. But I also realized that so many of the Muppet characters, mostly side characters, are based on tropes that are so specific to the late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s.
You mean like the Swedish Chef?
The Swedish Chef, what is his name? Roland or whatever.
Rolf?
Rolf, yeah. Who is
Jimmy
the
Durante.
piano, yeah. And the sort of 70s glam band that we've got. Like, these characters are now iconic and stuck, but they're stuck in a time frame that if they were created today, they wouldn't draw on those references, and yet, and they weren't, those decisions weren't made to create a stylized thing. They were made to lampoon a specific thing at a specific time, but now they're stuck there.
Yeah.
It seems so odd to me, you know, how that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what
if
I
they
mean?
had a new show, they could bring in more people. Or more new
contemporary.
characters.
Like Walter.
Yeah, like Walter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the little prawn
So
guy
I guess
that I loved.
hot soup, medium soup, cold soup?
Luke to medium. I think Dan and I were probably had the same amount of enjoyment, whereas we saw the error of its ways and times, but at the overall, it was a good movie.
It's interesting too. I think kids will love it because it's like when I watched the Muppet movies growing up, I didn't know what the heck was going on. Like, I think they're all. I can't tell the difference between the Muppet Caper, Muppet Stick Manhattan. It's all Charles Grodin's in all of them to me, and I don't know what else happened. So I never understood plots when I was younger, but all the Muppets were fun to look at because the plot here is all, and the jokes are really all for adults because they're all references to things that kids would have no affinity for.
80s
But
robot.
it's still cool. So I think it will play well.
Yeah.
That being said,
I hope it does.
But
well.
I, can
want a
understand
TV
it
show.
not,
I think a
we all
TV
want
show
a
would
TV
be the
show.
best thing for me. out of
Variety
this.
show.
Yeah. Muppets.
All right, everybody, be sure to stick around. We're going to be answering one of your Twitter questions right after this. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say right now. Twitter questions.
It's a tongue
First, we want to thank our
a tongue
sponsors.
twitter.
Jeff, sponsor us.
You guys have heard me talking about Jack Threads.
Yes, and how much you hate suckers.
Guess what?
What?
Hello.
Is that a Jack Thread
Threads.
again?
You couldn't you tell?
This
I
is Jack
did.
Threads.
How stylish.
No joke. This is Jack Threads cardigan.
Nice.
Guess what? Here's what Jack Threads is. Jack Threads is a online members only shopping club where you can get 80% off every day. Crazy, awesome brands, really cool, hip clothes for guys, right? I hate shopping. It is.
Yep.
I'm not exaggerating. It is one of my least favorite things to do in the world. Let me tell you a honest to God story of what's been happening the last few days.
Okay.
My girlfriend has been watching the Jack Threads ads that we've been doing, and she was like, you know, I should check that out, because she knows that I'm style averse and shopping averse and don't know what the hell I'm doing. She goes on Jack Threads, starts searching around, starts sending me links. Buy this, buy that, buy this. All I gotta do is click the link, click buy, and I am done, and she's the happiest person in the world. I look better. It's like, this is the answer to every guy's dream who hates shopping like me. Some people just naturally stylish, like my two co-hosts. Me, doesn't happen naturally. Luckily, I have some. The cool thing is, it didn't take much work, so you don't necessarily need to have your style buddy like I have my girlfriend. You can. It's super easy. You go on there, you click. They have really
That's
awesome.
what you call her?
Sometimes.
Style, buddy.
The bad news is,
Yes.
it is
Invite only?
invite only.
Well, all right, let's go.
How did your
Oh, wait.
girlfriend do it then?
She watches this show, and I totally hooked her up.
Amazing.
In a number of ways. If you watch our
just got
show,
creepy.
we can put you at the head of the line by going to jackthreads.com/TRS. You can get instant access to all the cool hookups. It's free to sign up.
Amazing.
You get these awesome emails every day that show you all the new things that are on sale for like up to 80% off these awesome brands. She actually said, be sure to mention that Calvin Klein is one. I think Calvin Klein was one of the big brands that she was all excited about. It's like sweet, awesome, cool brands.
Cool.
So do it.
Amazing.
This is literally, it arrived
That
2
is a
days
Jack
ago.
Thread.
Jack Threads cardigan.
Unfortunately, all the tags say Jack Thread on them.
No, they don't.
just kidding.
They're actually really cool hip
Mine's
brands.
are like, you got Jack's name all over your shirt.
oh, that's not
That didn't
what
even
we want
work.
people to think. Because it's not
All
true.
right, well, thank you so much. And if you want a background just like this one, send in Totally Rad Show. We will see you later.
Join us tomorrow for our review of the movie Hugo.
Today's Twitter question comes from @NickWeikert, and he asks us, which movie season do you look forward to more and why? Summer blockbusters or Oscar season?
Interesting.
Oscar season.
Summer blockbusters for me, man. That's me. I like popcorn movies. Most Oscar movies, I just get so bored with. I mean, unless they're really great. I love the crossover ones. You know what I
You
mean?
love all of them.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, it is.
No,
dude.
that's not true.
It's so not true. You don't get bored with them. You
Nah,
love
I feel
them.
bored.
If you look at
Maybe
the top
I'm
movies
thinking
of
about-
the year, it's like they're all the Oscar movies, not the summer blockbusters.
No, but I love the summer blockbusters.
Summer-
But I
Lately
know
has
what
been-
you feel because I would say I always look forward to the summer
That's what-
season.
Yes.
And I never. If the
always
question were,
underwhelming.
yeah, and the opposite is I'm not looking forward to the Oscar movies. Maybe that's this year. I think maybe in other years I am really looking forward to them. And then every movie I see during Oscars is like, that's the greatest movie I ever saw. And the next week is,
Yeah.
that's the greatest movie I ever saw.
In recent years too, we've had the phenomenon of having the big summer blockbuster in the Oscar season. So we would have a Harry Potter movie. We would
Yeah.
have a Dark Knight came out.
Oh, in
the-
like Christmas time, you're saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
it no Dark Knight was.
Yeah, Dark Knight was
But like, wasn't Batman? There was one of those movies that. Oh no, Inception.
Oh, Avatar. too.
Inception was right.
Avatar was Christmas.
Was Inception the summer too?
Yeah, Inception was the summer.
Avatar. That's what I'm thinking.
That's what it is.
It's always Avatar.
It's always
That's the answer, Nick.
But yeah, dude, sometimes those big, awesome experiences can happen in the fall. Titanic can happen, remember
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
scant
Christmas.
15 years ago or whatever that was.
All right. Anyway, thank you. All right, Nick.